We will make America great again.
RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, statements, or opinions of its guests, advertisers, or even its viewers. The information contained in this program is not to be confused with medical or legal advice. An appearance on this platform is not necessarily an endorsement, but as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good evening, everyone. And of course, welcome back to another very exciting episode of Red Pill News Live. Hope you guys are having a lovely day. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't yet, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that red pill, hit that thumbs up. Help us out by sharing the show. No matter what part of the world you're at. You know, we used to start the show by asking people where they were checking in from. I'd like to bring that back. Do me a favor, drop it in the chat. Tell me what part of the country or what part of the world you're in. I'd love to see it. Because I guess I kind of lose sight thinking just, that I know where people are. I mean, I got people from all over the world here. I love to see this. We've already got one down here over on YouTube. Hello from the Netherlands. Greetings, greetings. Here for the tunnels. Well, we are going to talk about those tunnels today. Most certainly. And, as you can see on screen, who's that? Well, it's Eagle Ed Martin, meeting this morning with Deputy AG Todd Blanche. The Blanche haters are most affected. But, as I have often said, everything is an op. You can't just take what you see in front of you at face value. Oh, you princes of Massachusetts, you kings of New England, Cape Cod. All right, sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn, because we're going to get into it right about now. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to hang out with us today. Just got done with an hour over on 412's Anon and Badlands Media with another episode of Taking It Back. My good friend Adel, Nero, and I just had a conversation about the Epstein files, and I kind of went nuclear on somebody. He pissed me off, man. I don't normally get pissed off, but for some reason, it just triggered me today. I gotta watch myself. Anyways, Lisa's always saying that I should go off on people more often, but I've always tried not to go off on people trying to get me worked up in the chat because, of course, I mean, that's exactly what people want, and I know that's what they want. But today, it just got under my skin. All right, well, we have a lot to talk about. Before we begin, I just have a very brief message from the first sponsor of today's show. That's going to be our friends over here on Rumble and the Kids Guide. You guys, parents, if you are a parent or a grandparent, time for some real talk about the second, time for a real talk for a second, because America is about to hit a major milestone. Right now, you're all aware we're coming up on America's 250th birthday. That is 250 years of freedom, of grit, of sacrifice, and the greatest experiment in self-governance the world has ever known. So it stands to reason this is the perfect opportunity to help your kids and your grandkids understand why this country matters. It's not just about fireworks and hot dogs or, Congress, those sorts of things, but the story behind it all. And there is a free guide. It's called The Kid's Guide to America's 250th Birthday. It's just honestly a great way to introduce to your kids or grandkids how America began and who the founding fathers were, what they risked, and why those ideas they fought for are still relevant today. So this guide sends kids back to the moment brave men signed that Declaration of Independence, knowing full well they were risking their lives for freedom. And it breaks it all down in a way that kids can actually understand and enjoy without watering it down or turning it into some kind of boring schoolwork. So if you care, and I know you do, about raising kids who know where this country came from, why it is worth preserving that, this is something that you're going to want to grab. And the best part It's completely free with this special offer. All you do is pay $2 for shipping and handling. So just head to freeusabirthday.com, freeusabirthday.com, and the Kids Guide to America's 250th birthday is there for your kids today. America's story matters. Make sure that the next generation knows it. You guys, we have a lot of brainwashing to overcome with many of these kids that have been taught by radical leftists in the school system. And obviously, we need to address that. So let me just say thank you to Jim Kyle over there on Rumble. He says, great show on Badlands. Caught the show today. Awesome. Glad you were there, buddy. Lee Walden, good to see a friend. He says, ahoy, Zach, Miss Lisa, and the crew. I thought I'd ask if you forgot the Tina Peters. Oh, I did forget the Tina Peters thumbnail, lest we forget her and her disposition. All the best, brother. Thank you for reminding me, Lee. After the show today, I will definitely get that up there. Also want to say thank you to Filter Dog for the cookie, Dixie for the can, Cyber X Speed for the cookie, Trump 1 for the cookie, Sean Joe for 2 cookies. I really do appreciate you guys. All right, so let us jump in head first. So, saw this post, and I thought that it was highly relevant, giving a story about the Washington Post that has broken very recently. So, this is Milo, also known as Nero on X. Milo is a controversial figure, but he's also somebody that I find highly entertaining on X. He says, WAPO, a celebration of excellence. No newspaper in the world has invented and spread more hoaxes than the Washington Post. This is a brief selection from merely the past decade, and we can follow that right on over to Breitbart, because the story is the Washington Post just fired several hundred reporters all around the world. I believe there were 300 Washington Post staffers working in their sports section, their book section, their podcast, also their Ukrainian organization. And all around the world, these reporters walk up this morning to find that they no longer had a job. I said 300, but apparently the Washington Post Guild wants you to know that it's actually closer to 400 people. Mainstream media journalists who woke up today finding themselves without a job. Now, Jeff Bezos is the sole owner of the Washington Post. And, of course, Jeff Bezos has a desire to keep his investment humming along. The Washington Post has, since its very inception, labeled itself as a piece of propaganda for the Democrat Party. They said in their very first editorial that they were publishing from a Democratic point of view, and that it was only the Democrats who would pass legislation to fight the Republicans. And, of course, at that time, the Republican Party was still the party of Lincoln. It was filled with many men who were looking to move our country in a particular direction, and the Democrats were trying to fight that. But I want you to take a look at all of these hoaxes just from the last 10 years. Just recently, the Melania document came out, and virtually, well, not even virtually, literally, every single member of the mainstream media that saw this movie gave it a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, or 1 star, as low as they could. They called it propaganda. They said it was terrible. They said that nobody would enjoy it. And then the truth of the matter is every single person, real person who saw it, they loved it. They thought that it was an excellent movie. It is the biggest documentary in America in the last 20 years. You've also got plenty of other hoaxes, such as ICE detaining a 5-year-old child, Trump destroying the White House, starving Gaza babies. We've also got Trump tariffs exploding prices around America. You've got the Maryland man hoax. That was a big one. Can't forget that. Black newborns more likely to die if their doctors are white. It's actually the other way around. Elon Musk and Donald Trump giving Nazi salutes, the all-white Trump party hoax the calling for Liz Cheney to be executed by President Trump hoax, the hoax that President Trump was somehow disrespectful to veterans at Arlington Cemetery, or the suckers and losers Donald Trump hoax. You can't forget about the Russia hoax, the very fine people hoax, the eating while black hoax, the NASCAR noose hoax, the COVID lab leak debunking hoax, and the list goes on and on. You guys are familiar with all of them because we have covered them in the last several years. So Milo posted, after posting that, that he was hoping that somebody had a list of the hundreds of Washington Post reporters who lost their jobs earlier today so that he could send each of them a special message offering them targeted harassment, because each and every one of them sucks and they are all equally dishonest. But this one really caught my attention. Marissa J. Lang from the Washington Post, and she's turned off her replies because I'm sure they were savage when they were still on. She said, "I was laid off today by the Washington Post. I'm proud of the work I have done at this place, not just the award-winning work, but the stories that spurred change, that were steeped in this beautiful local community. Job tips welcome, DMs are open." So Milo says, "I'm just scanning Marissa's recent headlines to better comprehend the magnitude of this loss for the Post." And he shares this article she wrote in December. "Drunk raccoon found in liquor store is a repeat offender," officials say. My goodness, that is some Pulitzer Prize winning journalism right there. So good luck to each and every one of you fake news propagandists who woke up today, even the ones who found yourselves without a job in the middle of a war zone. People in Ukraine woke up to find themselves no longer employed. Good luck getting back to the States, and I sure hope that Russian officials don't realize that you are no longer a credentialed journalist, because that's going to take away some of the protection you've had. Now, also outside of the Washington Post, hundreds of their former employees gathered to demonstrate. These freshly unemployed Washington Post staffers are now out there in front of the building.
Who makes the
crying about the fact that they no longer have a job. I guess you'll have to learn to code.
We do. Who makes the Post? We do. Who makes the Post? We do. Who makes the Post? We do. Welcome, Ben Brash. We do.
Well, actually, it looks like Jeff Bezos makes the Post, because the Post is still operating. It's not a report. It's not a rag that I would go to now, even though hundreds of propagandists are no longer working there. But it seems like they're going to continue to plug along despite the loss of all of these blue-haired liberal weirdos. Now, I also wanted to give a big shout out to Beaver D on X. Beaver D is an account on X that I told you about several weeks ago when they created a tool called SomaliScan.com. SomaliScan.com has been invaluable in terms of the investigation into government fraud, waste, and abuse, not only by the Somali population, but in government agencies all around the country. Now, Somali Scan just won a $1 million prize on X for having written that tool and a subsequent series of articles surrounding the findings that they put together. You heard that right. Nick Shirley won a $100,000 prize for his expose on the streets in Minneapolis, and Beaver D won a $1 million prize for the efforts of putting together this tool. And now that $1 million is going to be put to really good use so that the tool can be expanded and even more information can be included. And I just wanted to give them a round of applause, because this account came out of nowhere. When I found this account, there was a couple of hundred followers. And now, let me see, what are they at now? Now they've got over 100,000 followers, and they are the proud recipient of a $100 million award. There were a whole bunch of great accounts on X that won. Now, Beaver D was reached out to by some mainstream media journalist. I think it says Brianna Horvath. And they said that they're from some news place. We are currently writing a piece about X awarding you with $1 million for the X article competition. And I was wondering if you would be able to answer the following questions. After the winners were announced, many X users noted that posts you have previously made could be considered pro-Hitler or racist. And then they reference a post. Could you explain your political ideologies further? And would it be accurate to say that you identify with neo-Nazism? Second question, have you been in contact with X and have they awarded you the money yet? Did X provide any reason as to what they took into consideration when choosing you as the winner of the competition? Please let me know if there's anything else you would like to provide comment on regarding your previous posts or the award. Thank you. And Beaver D replies, hi, Bruna. Thanks for reaching out. As for the questions, I don't speak to fat girls. I mean, Ozempic is like so cheap. Thank you and have a good day. Oh, burn. Absolutely love it. Mainstream media has absolutely zero credibility now. And he says, you don't even really need a PR agent anymore. No, you don't. If they reach out to you on X, you can send them a message like that, or you can just choose to ignore them. Most of the time, I've just chosen to ignore them. But I love, love, love that reply right there. All right. Now, we do have an update in the kidnapping of the mother of Savannah Guthrie. First of all, the vehicle of her sister and brother-in-law has been impounded. And like I told you yesterday, that brother-in-law looks to be the #1 suspect right now. And the Guthrie family, Savannah, her sister, who's married to the guy who's under consideration for the kidnapping, and their brother, they put out a video essentially pleading with kidnappers to return their mother. Now, it appears that that video may have been preempted by the receipt of a fake ransom demand that the Guthrie family received for Nancy. Apparently, some guy just got their contact information and then sent them a fake ransom demand asking for Bitcoin. Take a listen to this because the FBI has arrested him.
To those imposters who are trying to take advantage and profit from this situation, we will investigate and ensure you are held accountable for your actions. We have made one arrest related to an imposter ransom demand, and a complaint will be presented to a magistrate judge later today.
Now, this guy said that, he wasn't really sending a fake ransom demand. He just wanted to see if anybody would respond. But he also demanded Bitcoin, and I'm pretty sure he actually sent along a Bitcoin address. So if he could have cashed out, I think he would have. Good for them. I'm glad that they arrested this guy. Lee Walden said, I read a report that Nick Shirley and his mom have had serious threats and have had to move from their hotel because of threats. Please check it out. He has said that in the past. I mean, he's had threats for quite some time. So I'm sure that Nick is going to be okay. I mean, he's got security, and he's also traveling quite frequently to do his reports. He just released a new report this morning from New York City because he went and did filmed some footage and interviewed a woman out in front of Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan brownstone. He also just did an interview with one of the Bert and Ernie guys from HHS. So yeah, I think Nick is going to be okay. I mean, he's got protection. But yes, he's definitely been getting threats for quite some time. All right, now, Hillary Clinton has also responded to James Comer and the Oversight Committee's continued attempts to get them to come in. After they previously said that they would come in, now they are attempting to besmirch the committee and claim that Comer and the committee are moving the goalpost. So, although they have agreed to come in through their lawyers, we are now hearing that the Clintons are complaining about the circumstances of those depositions that they are scheduled to give. So she put this post out earlier. She said, for 6 months, we engaged Republicans on the Oversight Committee in good faith. We told them what we know under oath. They ignored all of it. They moved the goalposts and turned accountability into an exercise in distraction. She said, so let's stop the games. If you want this fight, James Comer, let's have it in public. You love to talk about transparency. There's nothing more transparent than a public hearing, cameras on. We will be there. Now, James Comer said Look, the Clintons keep moving the goalposts. In her tweets to me, she was completely dishonest about what she said. He also expounds upon that a little bit with Benny Johnson here. So let's listen.
Big breaking news this morning, Hillary Clinton challenging you, saying, let's do this testimony in public. Her post has gone up, and even though the comments are locked, it's going quite viral. And so I would love to simply ask, will this testimony be in public, Mr. Chairman? It
will be public. We have the video camera, the audio camera, and the transcript. So everyone in America will see that. We always release. I've never done a deposition where we didn't release the transcript and the audio and video if we have that. This is a standard congressional deposition, which is what the Clintons agreed to. And the standard congressional deposition is you are deposed for however long it takes, and it will be recorded, both video, audio, as well as transcripts that will be made public. So it is going to be public.
But it will not be live. So this will not be live streamed.
Well, you know, we hadn't planned on it being live, but I mean, we're seeing the legality of that, and it's never been done before. But look, the Clintons keep moving the goalposts. In her tweet against me, you know, she was completely dishonest in what she says, and we're trying to get all the emails gathered up. We've been negotiating with her attorneys for 6 months now, and they are the ones that move the goalposts. So either Hillary Clinton's being lied to by her attorney, or Hillary Clinton just lied. But either way, the only people that move the goalpost are the Clintons, and here they are again, 48 hours after they agreed to come in for the deposition, trying to move the goalpost again for what I think she means is like a public hearing. And I'll say this, look, this is what Jim Jordan did with Jack Smith. They had a deposition, then Jack Smith said he wanted to go public, and then they had a hearing. I mean, if the Clintons want to do that, they can do that. The subpoena that was voted on by Democrats and Republicans, the contempt charges that was voted on by Democrats and Republicans in the Oversight Committee, was for the Clintons to sit down for a deposition. The video, the audio, the testimony will all be made public. So I don't know why she's trying to say something.
She's trying to say that it's not going to be available to the public so that she can continue to distract, so that she can perhaps put this off even longer. Everything they say will be made public. And I am personally in favor of them doing the private deposition, certainly on camera, and then having that information released, and then having her questioned in public at a public hearing. Hillary Clinton knows that if it's in front of television cameras, if there is an audience there, if you have this audience for Congress to grandstand, then it's going to be a distraction. And it's more likely that if the only venue under which these questions are answered is in that sort of circus-like atmosphere, it makes it more possible that they will be able to get away with things. We're going to do this. We're going to get Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton under oath. It's happening on the 26th and the 27th. Hillary Clinton is going first, then Bill Clinton, and then shortly after that, we can have that public deposition. Don't you worry, Hillary. We're going to take care of all of it. Now, this is the answer from the Oversight Committee. Essentially, on yesterday at the 11th hour, or rather on Tuesday at the 11th hour, their lawyers, Jonathan Scaladny and Ashley Callan, said their clients accepted the term of the depositions. These terms are no different than any other deposition we've held on this case, even with Republicans like AG Bill Barr and Secretary Alex Acosta. Then they pretend that we are moving the goalpost when they received, along with the subpoenas, the House deposition guidance that explicitly mentions video recordings. We are not going to debate the meaning of the word is, because that's what Bill Clinton likes to do. We are going to get answers for the American people, and they include exactly what they sent them. This is not going to be something that Hillary Clinton is going to be able to skirt around. We're going to have this, and we're going to have it memorialized on video for everyone to see. And Hillary Clinton is going to have to just deal with it. Now, we also have a stunning admission from Norm Eisen. Norm Eisen, the architect of the color revolution. Norm Eisen, the former college chum of Barack Hussein Obama. Norm Eisen, one of the legal minds that has been behind every single legal challenge against President Trump from the very beginning. He admits that the first Trump impeachment was merely an effort to divert attention away from the corruption that Joe Biden was himself involved in. This is what we always see. Democrats and the enemies of President Trump, they project upon him their own crimes. They commit these crimes, and then they spring into action. They make up an accusation against President Trump. They try to pin it on him to draw attention away from who the real criminals are. Now, the Russia collusion hoax, we are aware, we have confirmation from various government officials that it was created not only by Hillary Clinton, but it was implemented by Barack Obama and many other Democrats in an effort to draw attention away from the crimes of Hillary Clinton. The erasing of classified government documents from her insecure, at-home, private bathroom email server where she kept special access program intelligence, where she kept classified intelligence, where she kept top secret intelligence, where spies in China were doxxed and they had their lives taken from them. Hillary Clinton was directly responsible for one of the most damaging national security breaches in American history. And Tulsi Gabbard, as the director of national intelligence, released her report with that new information that we spoke about last week. The White House has spoken about it. In these documents, it's revealed that Barack Obama, the FBI, the CIA at that time sought to sabotage President Trump before he even had a chance to step into office. Obama did this knowing the entirety of the truth at the time and knowing that what would be told to the American people would be a 100% bald-faced lie. The House intelligence report that had previously been locked up in a CIA vault for almost a decade was only made public as a result of the efforts of DNI Tulsi Gabbard. And it's clear that Obama and his administration doctored information. They doctored intelligence to make it appear as if Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation were trying to help Donald Trump win the election. You've got 4 key elements in that report about the Russia collusion hoax that form the basis of that hoax. Number 1, that Vladimir Putin wanted Donald Trump to win the election in 2016. Vladimir Putin had no preference. Number 2, that Putin took actions to help Donald Trump win the election in 2016. Exactly the opposite. Number 3, that Russia had blackmail evidence against Trump being in the form of the Steele dossier. Totally fake. The Steele dossier didn't exist until Hillary Clinton hired Christopher Steele to produce it. And number 4, that Russia tried to collude with the Trump campaign. There's no evidence to suggest that in any respect. Every single point of that intelligence briefing was a lie. We had no reliable information to back up any of those allegations, and yet Barack Hussein Obama, and his people, and Hillary Clinton, Adam Schiff, all of their proxies in the mainstream media, they continued to make these allegations publicly, and they did it so that they could help Hillary Clinton overcome her own crimes and produce this lie in the minds of the American people, which would damage President Trump. You know, I haven't spoken to many liberals in recent years, but just a couple of years ago, I was sitting in a circle with a group of older Republican guys. And those guys, even though they mostly liked President Trump, they still believed that Russia tried to help President Trump win the election. They still believed that the Trump campaign was colluding with Russia because they heard it on the news, because they heard it coming from people in the Obama administration. Now, during this press conference, when DNI Tulsi Gabbard was speaking about this, she said she had already turned this information on Obama over to the Department of Justice, and the exact same deep state that was present in Trump's first administration, present during his shadow administration while Joe Biden was living in the White House, and is still there during his second administration. They are still working to try to convince America that there is something wrong with Donald Trump, that he is not the man that he says he is, that they are the same people who impeached him twice, who made up all these lies, who spread this propaganda in the mainstream media, and they are the same people who attempted to claim that he was working with the Ukrainian president to somehow prove that that his crimes needed to be overlooked. One of the main architects behind each and every one of these things that I have spoken about is Norm Eisen, the architect of the color revolution. On tape in this recent interview, Norm Eisen is admitting that the first Trump impeachment was an effort to pre-bunk or to take attention away from Joe and Hunter Biden and their criminal acts, the criminal acts of the entire Biden crime family that were all spelled out on Hunter Biden's laptop. Remember when they said that Hunter Biden's laptop had all of the hallmarks of Russian disinformation? Think about how many people lost their accounts on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, many other places because they tried to speak about the Hunter Biden laptop. They used that impeachment to protect Joe Biden. Let's hear it from Norm Eisen's own mouth. Well, first of all, this is him testifying in the House Judiciary Committee.
On the evidence they considered and the findings in the Intelligence Committee report that the president solicited the interference of a foreign government, Ukraine, in the 2020 U.S. presidential election. Professor Feldman, did President Trump commit the impeachable high crime and misdemeanor of abuse of power based on that evidence and those findings?
Based on that evidence and those findings, the president did commit an impeachable abuse of office.
Professor Carlin, same question.
Same answer.
And Professor Gerhardt, did President Trump commit the impeachable high crime and misdemeanor of abuse of power?
We three are unanimous, yes.
All this horrible nonsense and still continuing with Hunter Biden and this fake dossier. There was no rule forbidding Hunter Biden from working for that company. It's not against the law. It's not against the rules. Many adult family members do that kind of thing. And we managed to, I think, draw the sting. I'm afraid we would have had a repetition of the October surprise right down to the fake documents if that had not been thoroughly ventilated. So that was not in a partisan way, but for the sake of our country, impeachment was an inoculation against disinformation.
Well, the only problem, Norm, is that none of the Hunter Biden laptop dossier, as it were, was disinformation. Every aspect of it was the truth. All of it was 100% factual. Norm Eisen, in his infinite legal wisdom, used his legal education to be the one to spread disinformation, to try to take down President Trump. And I sincerely hope that there is a pair of handcuffs and a prison cell in Norm Eisen's future, because his efforts through these color revolution acts, just as we've seen in other disjointed nations around the world, have been put into place here in the United States of America. And it's very partisan. It's very partisan. They want Donald Trump to not succeed, which means that they don't want America to succeed, which means that they want you to not succeed. Because when America is strong, when America prospers, when America has its laws upheld, when criminals are brought to justice, people like Norm Eisen get nervous. Now, I wanted to show you this picture that I used on the thumbnail, posted by Eagle Ed Martin earlier this morning at the Department of Justice, standing, smiling, right along with Deputy Director of the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche. And I think that what this picture ought to tell you is what I wrote on the thumbnail of this video, that everything is an op. Now, just because everything is an op, it doesn't mean that it's an op against you. It doesn't mean that every op is directed to confuse you, but certainly it is directed to confuse the situation. The morning after that story dropped, that Todd Blanche was responsible for firing Eagle Ed Martin and shutting down the weaponization working group, Eagle Ed Martin shares a picture from the Oval Office with President Trump. And now, directly after that, he shares a picture with Deputy Director Todd Blanche, the guy who allegedly fired him, the guy who allegedly was investigating him, the guy who allegedly has quashed an investigation into Adam Schiff. I don't think any of those stories are true. They're all originating from the mainstream media. if there was bad blood between Todd Blanche and Ed Martin, I don't think that we would see Ed Martin sharing a photograph of them together right here. Those stories in the mainstream media, those are the ops that they are trying to run on you, the American people. All right? And Todd Blanche and Ed Martin's lack of commentary on this is their op on the mainstream media. Now, this picture is for us. This picture is directed at those patriots that are out there on the internet asking questions about whether or not Todd Blanche is a good guy, whether he hates Ed Martin, whether he fired him, whether justice is out of reach, whether the people who have taken our country and flushed it down the toilet like Norm Eisen or Adam Schiff or any of the others, whether they're not going to get what's coming to them. I think that Ed Martin and Todd Blanche shared this photograph explicitly to let you know that there are things happening that they're just not going to talk about. And that whatever you see playing out publicly is not necessarily what's happening behind the scenes. And the bullshit that you hear from the mainstream media like CNN or Washington Post or the New York Times, don't take that seriously. Don't internalize that stuff. Catalog it. Take note. Remember what they say. But don't allow it to be piss in your cornflakes, because that's not what it is. So here we go, guys. This is still plugging right along. And I don't think there's anything to worry about here. Ed Martin is working. And I think that the weaponization of the government is right now continuing to be investigated through the grand juries that are happening in Florida. So we'll hear about those grand juries in Florida when it's time to hear about the findings of those grand juries in Florida. Now, what if I told you that DNI Tulsi Gabbard quietly a year ago took a trip to Puerto Rico? Quietly, Tulsi Gabbard got on a plane or a boat or something like that and took a vacation in Puerto Rico. Not because she wanted to get some sun, not because she wanted to take some time off because, people were not liking her in the administration. No, this was Tulsi Gabbard running her investigation into the security of American elections. This is right after she told the president in a cabinet meeting that electronic voting systems were completely insecure. So, Tulsi Gabbard went to Puerto Rico to investigate their voting machines, which are the same voting machines we use here on the mainland. So, her office said that the Office of the Director of National Intelligence identified extremely concerning cybersecurity and operational deployment practices that pose a significant risk to elections. The ODNI said some vulnerabilities in Puerto Rico's voting machines stem from the use of insecure cellular technology, the same insecure cellular technology that we're using in American voting machines, along with software flaws that could allow hackers deep access into critical election systems. The same software flaws that could allow hackers deep access into critical election systems here in the United States. Again, she told President Trump and the cabinet about this live a year ago. Now, given the ODNI's broad statutory authority to coordinate, integrate, and analyze intelligence related to election security and our known work on understanding vulnerabilities to foreign and other malign influence, ODNI conducted an examination of electronic voting systems used in Puerto Rico's elections, a spokesperson said. Now, it was April where she told the cabinet what she had found. And then just a couple of weeks later, she's heading down to Puerto Rico to check out their electronic voting systems. Again, the exact same electronic voting systems we use here in the United States. Might as well go back and watch this. And may I remind you that Tulsi Gabbard also just visited Fulton County, Georgia, to oversee the raid on Fulton County, Georgia's election warehouse, where they just so happened to house the exact same electronic voting machines that she had already investigated down in Puerto Rico. Remember, she said, we have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers. and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast. Listen.
We're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time. Vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections. We're investigating. We have the best of the best going.
So in short, just recently it was announced that President Trump tasked Tulsi Gabbard with investigating our election system. Many people took that to mean that President Trump just tasked Tulsi Gabbard with investigating our election system. But the truth of the matter is, for at least a year, that investigation has already been ongoing. Now, let's take a listen to President Trump earlier today at the National Prayer Breakfast, where he also brings up Tulsi Gabbard, gives her a big shout out. Also, AG Pam Bondi. Some people are not going to like that. But take a listen to this.
We have our director of national and international intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's doing a great job. Where's Tulsi?
You know what's international? Puerto Rico. Even if it is part of the United States, it's not here on the mainland. That would certainly be international. You know what else is international? Venezuela. Any place outside of the United States.
She took a lot of heat 2 days ago because she went in at Pam's insistence. She went in and she looked at votes that want to be checked out from Georgia. They say, why is she doing it? Right, Pam? Why is she doing it? Because Pam wanted her to do it. And you know why? Because she's smart. And they said, well, this has to do, her position has to do, it's really not so, but her position has to do with international. I say, well, the same people that said that, they've been saying Russia, Russia, Russia has been screwing our elections, okay? So let's assume Russia had something to do with it. They say, no, Russia didn't have. So now they're saying Russia had nothing to do with it. Because if I say Russia, that it's perfectly fine. But you could add China and about 5 other countries to it. But she's done a great job, and Pam has done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it both. I haven't seen you in a couple of days.
So again, what you see on television, what you see on Twitter, what you hear is happening is not always the full story. There's a lot more that's happening behind the scenes. And once again, President Trump is using the deep state's own words against them. For years, what have they been saying? That Russia meddled in our elections. Okay, so let's investigate whether Russia meddled in our elections. And we'll start down there in Fulton County, Georgia. President Trump did an interview this week with some hack from the mainstream media who wanted to know what's going on in Fulton County. And President Trump said, I don't know. I didn't direct them to go look in Fulton County. That would be Pam Bondi. She's the attorney general. They went down to Fulton County. I didn't go down to Fulton County. But here's the thing. If there's no fraud, then they've got nothing to worry about. Why would they be worried? Unless they've got something to hide. I think everybody knows that. Now, in addition to that, Fani Willis, not so long ago, testified in Georgia. We went over that quite a bit because there were some stellar, explosive moments. Well, now her boyfriend, Nathan Wade, has also been tasked with coming in and testifying. And it turns out that during the time that he was running the RICO investigation and prosecution into President Trump, Nathan Wade was given evidence of 2020 election fraud, and he ignored it. Instead, focused on his boo, Fani Willis, the lover. So, in March of 2024, it was reported that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade were running a corrupt case against President Trump. It was full of lies. We knew it then, and I knew that it was not going to go anywhere. The judge, of course, had once worked for Fani Willis. He donated to Fani Willis's campaign. It was a conflict of interest, but he stayed on the case. Well, luckily, we could show that there was another conflict of interest between Fani Willis and her boyfriend, Nathan. The judicial system, the court system, is totally corrupt and perverted here in the United States of America. Truth Social post from President Trump. I'm sure you remember this one. This is so good.
Did you go to a cabin with Miss Willis ever?
Ever?
Ever.
I've been really trying, baby, trying to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you feel like I feel, baby.
Oh, yeah.
No.
You've never gone to a cabin with Miss Willis?
No.
Never gone to a cabin with Miss Willis, even though we know he did. Here's another good one shared by Roger Stone. He said, this is back in May of 2024, I predicted that no action would be taken against trap hoe Fani Willis, and the case frame job would not be dismissed. Oh, my goodness. So, this is all having to do with Senator David Perdue's testimony. Now, what people may not know is that CanCon and Badlands actually got the exclusive on Senator David Perdue's special grand jury transcript. And unfortunately, people were sharing it out yesterday, and they never mentioned that this was exclusive from CanCon. So for the second time, I just want to give CanCon a big shout out for getting his hands on this testimony and for putting it out there. Because if it wasn't for him, then this information wouldn't be out there. And we wouldn't know that Brian Kemp, who at one time was the Secretary of State of Georgia before becoming the governor of Georgia, he had a hand to play in ensuring that election investigations would not take place. And as I told you yesterday, he promoted people to judgeships in the state of Georgia after they did what he said and looked the other way. Yesterday, we knew that it was 3 people who had been promoted to judgeships. It's actually 4, and it might be even more than that. So Georgia is incredibly corrupt. Now, we have Senator Greg Dolezal here commenting on his subpoena for Nathan Wade. Let's hear. I'd like to know exactly what he might be thinking about asking.
Well, we learned that she's an unhinged lunatic. First and foremost, and if you saw any of that testimony, it was 4 hours. I conducted the questioning, and she unhinged is the only adjective that I can use to describe here. But here's what we learned, Rick, specifically. We learned that on the day that Jack Smith was appointed by Biden to go after Trump, that Nathan Wade, who was the special prosecutor that Willis hired, that she had a personal relationship with, that he was on the phone that day, according to his billing records, for 8 hours with the White House. We know that he made
8 hours working with the White House when Jack Smith is appointed illegally as a special counsel. I'd love to hear what Nathan Wade has to say about that. It's a little bit different than forgetting that he went to a cabin with Hoochie Mama Fani Willis. Can't really back out of that one. Who was on your phone for 8 hours with the White House, Nathan Wade?
Trip to D.C. He magically can't remember who he met with in his White House deposition. Willis has no idea who they met with allegedly in D.C.
That's the other thing. You don't go to the White House and just have a total blank on who it was that you met with at the White House. I mean, I would imagine that you remember everything about getting invited to the White House and having a meeting with somebody, perhaps the vice president, the president, the attorney general, the new special counsel. You're going to remember that shit.
There's massive cases of amnesia now here in Atlanta, but what we do know is there was some level of J6 coordination with Willis, and we know that there was some sort of White House coordination. And I can break the news on your show tonight, Rick, that we issued subpoenas today from the Georgia State Senate to subpoena Nathan Wade and Jeff DeSantis, who's the deputy district attorney working under Fani Willis, and they have been ordered to appear a week from Friday before the state Senate to testify under oath.
So before the month is over, we will have Fani Willis's number 2, and we will have Fani Willis's number 1. I suppose Nathan Wade would be considered. They're both going to be testifying, and I can't wait to see what they have to say because it's going to be another good one, especially if Fannie attends and pipes up from the peanut gallery. Now, even more than that, again, going back to the idea that there is more going on than you could possibly know. John Solomon is now predicting that after the DOJ went to Georgia, Arizona is next. And even more than that, that Tulsi Gabbard is likely going to be giving a classified briefing to the Senate so that they can understand the importance of exactly how foobarred our election system is and why it's so necessary that they get that SAVE Act and they pass it.
We were told by Chris Wray and other officials after the 2020 election, we had a perfect election. There were no major foreign intrusions or foreign attempted intrusions in the 2020 election. I pretty quickly debunked that about a year later when I reported that Iran actually had hacked into a battleground state's registration system and downloaded more than 100,000 identities and was using them. Eventually, 2 guys got indicted in Manhattan. That's a really significant intrusion. That was not what Chris Wray told us. Then we learned from Kash Patel a couple of months ago that China was sending driver's licenses into the United States in 2020 in hopes that they could be used to create fake ballot registrations. That is a second really significant intrusion. Both of those are run contrary to what Chris Wray and other Homeland Security officials gave us as statements during the time. I believe that the President of the United States is soon going to be briefed by Tulsi Gabbard and other intelligence officials, based on my reporting, about additional intrusions, significant, large-scale intrusions into various forms of our election system. Now, I'm not talking about getting a machine and flipping the vote, but...
Well, just because he kind of screws the pooch on that one doesn't mean that it didn't happen, because we saw in Wisconsin, we saw in Georgia, we saw votes flipping from President Trump to Joe Biden live on screen. So maybe Tulsi Gabbard is not going to focus on that, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Maybe getting enough of state voter databases that a foreign power could work with people on the ground in the United States to fill out fake registrations for people who are on dirty voter rolls.
GBI election strategies in Michigan, anyone? They had operations going all around the country. Remember, they were raided in Michigan, and they had SBRs with silencers just like loaded up. It was like they had a little army in there. Like, who's running a voter registration operation and needs to pack assassination materials?
Those licenses that were sent into Chicago were going to be used to make absentee ballot applications, according to the FBI predicate. By the way, Chris Wray's FBI didn't look at that. They shut it down. If a foreign power was that far into the election databases of state systems that they could figure out what driver's licenses to send here, the next question becomes, who were they working with on the ground? Who was going to file those ballot requests? I think that's why Tulsi Gabbard was down in Georgia, why you might see her in Arizona, why the FBI will probably be in Arizona, and why the president's about to get a briefing. And all of this new information could have a profound effect on the Save America Act, which is, all right, some people say it feels like we're doing an awful lot. There's not a real problem. These next revelations, if the president were to declassify them after he gets debriefed on them in the next few days, they could educate senators and House members and give them a greater inspiration to maybe go ahead and do the voter ID and the citizenship check. That is a big moment. Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are driving this. It's been below the radar, but they're doing some really big stuff. Now the president's going to find out what it is, and then at that point, the opportunity comes to declassify it. Let's see what it is. There's one other element to this. If government officials lied to us after the 2020 election, there's still an opportunity in some of those cases to pursue criminal cases against them. We'll see where it all comes out, but that's what's going on in the background of the Save America Act debate right now.
John, if you were in studio right now, I would hug you. You just gotta hit rewind. Hit rewind for 1 minute. As you remember,
sure,
better than anybody, we spent, I think, half of 2021 in the great state of Arizona on this issue. And I know the Arizona Patriots. Just give me a 1 minute summary. When you said the word Arizona, and we're already in Georgia, just give me the 1 minute summary of Arizona, because I know there's so many war room posse members from the great state of Arizona have been waiting for something to say, hey, what we did, we're not wasting our time. This is actually being reviewed by senior authority. What do you got again?
Yeah. Again, I don't think election machines are flipping ballot counts and things like that. I think that the actual way that the elections were administered were in violation of state law. And this is very important. The laws that the Democratic Party created during the Civil Rights Movement and the Great Voting Rights Act movement of the 1960s, something that all Americans are proud of, they still apply today. And those laws say you must, if you're an election administrator, conduct the election consistent with your state rules so that everybody has equal protection in your state. If Georgia and Arizona didn't do that, if Fulton County and Maricopa County did things that were in violation of state law that created an unfair or unequal election, they can be prosecuted under the Voting Rights Act and other civil liberty laws for that. I think that's where it's going, that you can't just...
Now, those prosecutions would take place through the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. That would be Harmeet Dillon. That is why Harmeet Dillon has been the one spearheading the efforts to get the voter rolls from all of these states that we've focused on over these last several years. Every single one of those states, we know what happened. We know that there was an unfair advantage that was created. We know that laws were violated. This is all coming to a head, my friends. It's happening right now. It's just been happening behind the scenes. Just because you don't hear about it doesn't mean that it isn't taking place. Now, the Epstein files have created a great awakening, you might say. And I would like to play this clip of Bill Maher asking, where does he go to apologize to QAnon?
What were your thoughts about the Epstein files and 3 million pages being released? And, you know, now we are hearing that Bill and Hillary Clinton have both agreed to testify in the House ahead of the contempt of Congress vote. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, this is certainly something we were talking in my meeting today about what I'm going to talk about on the show Friday, because it's just too interesting. And also, you know, I can't believe I'm saying this, but where does QAnon go for the apology? You know, I mean, QAnon, which...
Of course, Bill Maher's not an anon, so he doesn't understand the difference. But I will take this coming from him.
Believed in lots of really ridiculous things, like, you know, Democrats eat babies. Yeah. But they were kind of harping a lot on the idea that the elites are running this pedophile ring. And I mean, I made jokes about them. I also made jokes after the Epstein thing happened originally that were on the idea of, well, you know, obviously there was some smoke there. Well, now with all that's come out in the last couple of weeks, there's a little more than smoke. It does look like anybody who was at all able to get in touch with Jeffrey Epstein, he was the man.
We're doing it.
They just, yeah. I mean, and then they all lied about it. Everybody has, and the arrogance also of thinking they could just use their real name in an email, which they did, and didn't try to couch it in, you know, when I used to get pot before it was legal, it was like.
All right, so you get the picture. And of course, I'm not saying we should start watching Bill Maher, that he's red-pilled or anything like that. The point here is that this story has broken through into the mainstream, and it's impossible to ignore. The truth of what Jeffrey Epstein and his friends were doing is now mainstream. And the train is not stopping anytime soon, because there are many, 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 many more documents to continue to go through. Now, this week I've shown you that Jeffrey Epstein had a hatch to go into the ocean, likely so Ghislaine Maxwell could roll up in her submarine and just bring anybody she wanted into the house without people being able to see. I've shown you the cabin that was built into the side of the island. I've shown you the conversations about the tunnels. This was another thing they said we were crazy. If you go back to the drops, Q said something about Jeffrey Epstein paying $29 million to have the tunnels filled with cement. It was 6 months before Jeffrey Epstein was arrested that he had a cement truck delivered to the island. It was prior to that being revealed. It wasn't until after Jeffrey Epstein died that was revealed. But of course, that was something that Anons knew because of the posts and because of the board. Jeffrey Epstein, of course, in these new emails, has a fascination with the tunnels on the island. I showed you the email also where they were talking about the building of these tunnels, $105,000 for the building of a new tunnel. Conspiracy theories are not theories. These are merely spoiler alerts, and we had the information on these spoilers a long time ago, just like we knew Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking kids and offering them up to many important people in the mainstream. Many elite figures were getting together with Jeffrey Epstein, and they were engaging in horrific practices with underage girls, not just on the island, but in many different places. Jeffrey Epstein, they said he didn't have high-powered friends in banks and governments and royal families. Well, he did. They said Jeffrey Epstein may have gotten in trouble in Florida for soliciting prostitution. Of course, that was soliciting prostitution from an underage child. He definitely did that. They said we were crazy thinking that Jeffrey Epstein was taking these elites of the world to his pedophile island, but he was. They said that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't running a sex trafficking ring, but he was. They said that his creepy temple on his island was merely just an artistic representation, but I think that it was probably a little bit more than that. So now here we are, and people are seeing that Jeffrey Epstein was talking about all of these things that we knew he was engaged in. Jeffrey Epstein had tunnels on the island. Jeffrey Epstein was deeply invested in the many different things that we knew he was doing. So in one of these emails that I showed you already, he contracted with a group to build that subterranean tunnel system on his island. As I showed you yesterday, he also sat on the board of a company that built underground facilities. We know that he had an underground facility at Zorro Ranch. In 2012, he says in an email, "Thanks, I want the floor done in the wood tunnel." In April 2015, he's told by an aide, tunnel floor completed. In that email I showed you the other day, he's asked if the staff is still sleeping in the tunnels. In 2018, Epstein receives an email about the tunnel confirming that the tunnel now houses the woodwork shop, the paint shop, the landscaping equipment, plus storage for timber and tropical shipments. There he is, staff still sleeping in tunnels. Right here in 2018, that was from Peggy Siegel. Here is, I think this is a video from Tyler Oliveira. This guy snuck onto the island. Oh, this is not Tyler Oliveira. This is just a different guy that snuck onto the island.
We gotta go. There's something covered in the center. Check the road, check the road. Check the road.
Newsweek. Trespasser on Jeffrey Epstein's private island describes most surreal moment. 5/27/2021. A quote, urban explorer on Jeffrey Epstein's island. His name's Andy Bracco. We all know there's been a lot of speculation about tunnels. As for the alleged tunnels, Bracco claimed he didn't see any, but that, quote, if I was to have entered the unlocked temple that I clearly came into close contact with, I would never self-incriminate by showing my audience how I got in. Getting in would then subsequently have allowed me to access the tunnels. Quote, between my two visits to the island, I did peer into the temple from the outside and noticed the staircase descending downwards, he clarified. Well,
and of course, by the time that James O'Keefe got his footage from inside that temple, that had already been filled.
It's interesting.
And wouldn't you know it, we've also now got a 36-minute video of the FBI and the New York Police Department investigating the tunnels. We're not going to watch this entire thing, but this is 100% proof from the investigation into Little St. James of those tunnels. Now, there's no audio, but it starts off with them walking on the surface, walking along the beach, walking by the cabana, surveying the island. Let me put this on a faster speed. Yeah, this is big. This is real big. Anon's new. Here we go. I want to go from the point where it starts. New York, because the investigation was in New York. The SDNY and the New York police, as I showed you the other day, there was a special child trafficking unit at the NYPD that was working on this for quite some time because Jeffrey Epstein lived in New York. All right. And here we go inside. We've got some. I think that this is video of Jeffrey Epstein with victims. But just so everybody knows the provenance of this footage, this came from the release by Donald Trump's administration. Rusty Shackelford had great video from the outside, but this is video that goes into the tunnels. Now we've got a bunch of footage of Jeffrey with victims here. There is, I believe, helicopter from the investigators. And here they go into one of the entrances. Investigating, this would be the electrical room. And boom, 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 down the stairs into the subterranean levels of Jeffrey Epstein's private tunnels. Down one level, down another level, down another level. Now, of course, this is with night vision. It's very dark. You can see that probably this is the water system. This would be the electrical system. There would be a desalination plant down here. Now, at one point in this video, you can see that one of the police officers has they have an NYPD patch on the back of their jacket. And there is an exit. And then, unfortunately, at that point, it cuts to a blue screen. And then it's basically like that for 2 hours in the full file. But if you want the link to the actual video, I will share that with you as well. So if you want to go through and watch the whole thing, you guys can go ahead and do that. Yeah, I would say that, I'm sure you guys, if you watched the Baseless Conspiracies with me and John the other night, John was kind of mincing words about the location of the tunnel, and I was like, who's to say that there weren't tunnels all around the entire island? I mean, why wouldn't there be? And he was like, well, it doesn't say that. Well, obviously, we can see from the video here that this tunnel system was vast. There is nothing to stop them from making an entire system underneath the entirety of the island. I mean, look, you can see it's got elevation. There's plenty of room there for it. And then, of course, I mean, it's all going to be encased in concrete. They could go below sea level with it. All right, sharing it over on X. And there you go. Now, everybody, I should share it on YouTube as well. There you go, guys. That is Jeffrey Epstein's tunnel video from the FBI and the NYPD investigating his island. All right, real quick, Before we continue, I have another special message from our friends over here on Rumble. You guys, banks can freeze your accounts. They can shut off your cards. They can lock you out of your own money, and they can do it at a whim, overnight or in a moment. Banks do not protect you. They control you. And that's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing the Rumble Wallet. It's a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currency like Bitcoin and Tether. You can also own Tether Gold. That is real gold on the blockchain. And through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars. Each one is fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. It's not paper gold. It's not an IOU. It's real gold without bank vaults, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That is power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet. It's peer-to-peer and outside the banking system. No permissions, no middlemen, no cancel button. The wallet is yours forever. So thank you very much to those who support on Rumble Wallet. Sincerely appreciate it. I do have some Tether Gold that a viewer had sent. And if you're watching on Rumble, you can use that QR code on screen. If you're not on Rumble, you can go to wallet.rumble.com, or you can just go to the App Store on your phone and search for Rumble Wallet. All right, thank you very much. Let's continue with a couple more disturbing Jeffrey Epstein posts. Now, here are some more pictures that were discovered. This is, obviously, there's no context here. But what we see is Jeffrey Epstein with a woman in his lap, and it looks like he's trying to kiss her. It also doesn't look like it's consensual. I believe that this is in his New York mansion. He's got a plate full of cookies right here. He's got his hand down her pants, and he's gripping her arm pretty tightly. And she appears to be struggling against him as he's trying to kiss her. And it doesn't look to me like she wants to be there. Yeah, and looks like he finally makes contact. But I would say this looks to me to be a non-consensual encounter. Real quick, couple of thank yous over on Rumble. Will to Push Forward says, Nathan Wade's time spent with dark turkey on the side. Fanny overloaded his melatonin, causing him to sleep and lapsed his memory. Also, he says, I believe Dan Schneider, of course, the famous writer and producer from Nickelodeon, the foot fetish guy, was trying to get young girls onto the island with his creepy questions, like Ariana Grande, soaked in a hot tub with young girls. Yes, he famously did a hot tub skit with Amanda Bynes, who has completely divorced herself from reality, a very sad circumstance. I don't know about him going to Epstein's Island, but I do know that Dan Schneider appears to have groomed quite a few young women, and really tragically so. Allegedly, in my opinion, I'll say, because Dan Schneider hasn't been convicted of anything besides being canceled for the things that he did. All right, now, you know who else showed up in the Epstein files? None other than the ladies of The View, Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar. Now, it's not like Jeffrey Epstein was just writing emails and mentioned that he saw Whoopi Goldberg or Joy Behar on television. It is a little bit more than that. Right here, the ladies of The View have actually been harping about the Epstein files for months. They got right on the bandwagon with the Democrats and the liberal media, demanding that President Trump release the Epstein files, saying that he must be hiding something because nothing had come out. Well, guess what? Now that it's come out, are they going to talk about their own presence in the Epstein files? It's not surprising to me that these women were mentioned in the Epstein files. Nicholas Fondacaro says, breaking, multiple cast members of The View are mentioned in the Epstein files. Whoopi Goldberg is mentioned nearly 24 times, 21 times. Alyssa Farah Griffin is mentioned 20 times. Joy Behar is mentioned 3 times. Anna Navarro is mentioned twice. And Sunny Hostin and Sarah Haynes are not mentioned at all. So, Newsbusters investigating the Epstein files discovered that cast members of The View were mentioned nearly 24 times. And despite the files being a major topic of discussion on the show, as they have tried to tie President Trump to Jeffrey Epstein and criminal activity on many different occasions, none of these women have addressed the fact that their names are in the files. And it would appear that Whoopi Goldberg is probably going to come out smelling like the biggest pile of dog shit, because not only is she referenced nearly 24 times, it would appear that Whoopi Goldberg actually solicited Jeffrey Epstein to get use of his private plane, the Lolita Express. So these references into Goldberg are seen in this email right here. So apparently she emailed Jeffrey Epstein's assistant, and then Epstein's assistant writes Jeffrey Epstein to ask if it's okay that Whoopi uses his plane. So she said, Whoopi Goldberg needs a plane to get to Monaco. John Lennon's charity is paying for it. They don't want to charter, so they're looking for private owners. Here's the info. White Feather Charity Ball Plane. White Feather Foundation is Julian Lennon's charity. May 10th, 2013, after Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile on the sex offender registry in 2 different states, he will present WFF inaugural charity ball fundraiser with Whoopi Goldberg hosting in Monaco. Monies raised for the first fundraiser go to support water and humanitarian conservation, timed with the United Nations Declaration of 2013 as World Water Year. HSH Prince Albert and Princess Charles will attend in support, or Princess Charlene will attend in support and friendship of WFF. In need of a private jet craft with these travel dates. May 9th, depart NYC at 4:30 p.m., direct to Nice. May 12th, depart Nice, direct to New York. The scheduled jet fell through yesterday, and they are scrambling to get Whoopi over to Monaco. I am sure the jet owner could attend the feat and get fuel reimbursed. Otherwise, if it is being paid for, we'd love to know costs to factor it in for John. Obviously, the more money we keep, the more goes directly to the charity. Would you want to offer the Gulf Stream 2? Jeffrey Epstein responded and said, no thanks. So even... Wait a second. Come on, Zach. Whoopi, bigger pile of dog shit. It's more like a mound of fertilizer. Oh, I just spoke about the View platform. However you want to characterize it. All I'm saying is that the stench of Epstein is now on Whoopi Goldberg. So this is Jeffrey Epstein responded and said no thanks. He was not interested in giving Whoopi Goldberg access to his plane. Now, yesterday, we spoke about lawyer Brad Karp, who is the chairman of Paul Weiss, the law firm where the Mitch Weber, the current board member of the Holocaust Museum, where he and Jeffrey Epstein were talking about how to skirt international age of consent laws to get little girls and to travel with them so they could abuse them. Brad Karp was also in the emails that we read yesterday. And we just got word today that Brad Karp is now the former chairman of one of America's largest law firm. He has resigned directly as a result of his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. In that 2019 email to Epstein, the chairman of Paul Weiss, Brad Karp, writes about a draft legal motion. He said, I don't see a credible counter to our arguments. The case law is totally stacked in favor of our position. I particularly liked the argument that the, quote, victims, meaning that they're not really victims, lied in wait and sat on their rights for their strategic advantage, knowing you were in prison before they came forward. Now, he puts victims in quotes because he doesn't believe they are actually victims. He was the head of one of America's most prestigious law firms, and he was coaching Jeffrey Epstein on legal strategy and mocking the women that Jeffrey Epstein abused 5 months before Epstein died in his prison cell. So good luck to you, Brad. I think you're probably going to land on your feet. You are very, very wealthy. I'd also like to show you this conversation between Jeffrey Epstein and a producer in Hollywood by the name of Barry Josephson. In these messages, they specifically talk about a minor female. Take a look at this. Barry Josephson writes to Jeffrey Epstein and says, Jeffrey, how old is she now? Jeffrey Epstein replies, 16. Thank you very, very much. Barry replies, her full name again? Is she in New York for a few weeks? And sorry, please have your office forward me her mom's contact information. A friend is shooting a feature in New York, and I'll try to get her in. And then Jeffrey replies, Well, that's a forwarded message. Then Barry Josephson replies, cool, I'm excited. Also, I've been thinking a lot about that question that you asked Bill Gates, and this is just as disturbing. How do we get rid of poor people as a whole? And I have an answer, comment regarding that for you. When can I call you today to discuss this? Discussing how to get rid of poor people. At the same time, they're ogling over a 16-year-old girl. Thank you very, very much. She's only 16. Disgusting. Jeffrey Epstein and his cohorts were specifically lusting after children. Disgusting. All right, now, CBS News and 60 Minutes was set to air a piece on their flagship program, but they have just been forced to pull it from rotation because it appears that their own contributor appeared in the Epstein files. So 60 Minutes is now the latest casualty in the Epstein files release from President Trump's Department of Justice. Now, let's take a look. The Epstein Transparency Act that 60 Minutes and many other outlets were demanding to be revealed has led to very, very, very powerful people losing their position in society. Now, the person in this segment was none other than Peter Attia, the man that I told you the other day was featured in the Epstein files some 1,700 times in very friendly conversations with Jeffrey Epstein. It was already reported that CBS News was planning to drop their affiliation with him. But now that they had a segment which was going to air this week, unfortunately, they're going to have to go ahead and pull that episode right now. So this was actually a rerun, and it was going to be airing opposite the Super Bowl, and Peter Attia was all over it. You can see here, Attia has responded. We didn't read through the whole thing, but I read through enough to tell you that I don't think he is a genuine person. And he is attempting to pass the buck to say that I never did anything illegal, and I never had any knowledge of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. But in Peter Attia's own words, the most exciting and frustrating part of being friends with Jeffrey Epstein is that he could never tell anyone how outrageous his lifestyle was. Well, that outrageous lifestyle dealt with the trafficking of children and young women, because not all of them were children, but primarily the trafficking of children and disadvantaged girls from Eastern Europe and other places around the world. And Peter Attia must have had some knowledge of it because he liked Jeffrey Epstein so much that on the day his infant son was born and his mother, the mother of his child, had to do it alone, and his infant son almost didn't survive being put in the NICU, Peter Attia couldn't be bothered to leave his bro hangout time with Jeffrey Epstein. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what kind of a man, first of all, doesn't show up to the birth of his son? Second of all, what kind of a man doesn't show up to support his child, his newborn child, in the hospital when it's touch and go, when it might be life or death? What kind of a man decides to hang out with a known predator sex offender rather than be there for his wife and his child? I don't know. You can ask Peter Attia, though. He'll tell you what kind of a man. All right. Now, here is another email, which is very interesting. Jeffrey Epstein apparently received an email which contained a JPEG, a picture, and a classified picture or a classified document from a non-public facing CIA email address. And it was from Martin Weinberg, and it looks like it was supposed to go to somebody else. Mike Huffman, apparently. So Jeffrey Epstein gets this email, and it looks like Mike Huffman is faculty at the Joint Military Attaché School, which is affiliated with the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency. So Epstein forwards this classified email to his defense attorney, at that time, Martin Weinberg. And he writes, Defense Intel, classified. I think this was sent to me in error. Whoops. This is a major, major lapse of security. First of all, it also goes to show you that Martin Weinberg, probably a CIA agent, sending this email from Martin Huffman at this CIA, Martin Weinberg, the defense attorney, but Huffman at ucia.gov, affiliated with the DIA, sending this classified document to Jeffrey Epstein. That means that Jeffrey Epstein's email address was already in Mr. Huffman's address book. Of course, we know that Jeffrey Epstein belonged to intelligence. So I think that the only thing that makes sense here is that Mike Huffman must have already had a conversation, perhaps on a regular basis, with Jeffrey Epstein. No cell phone, Mike Huffman, JMass facility. I wonder what that picture is. Of course, because it's classified, it would have been completely redacted. Now, you've also got another one, Alex Spiro, the CIA fellow and lawyer for many famous people, including at one time Elon Musk, Robert Kraft, Jay-Z. He spoke with Jeffrey Epstein on April 5th, 2019. Also, Steve Bannon was present because he was filming that documentary about him. But Jeffrey Epstein writes to Brad Karp today, who's going to be at this meeting, Alex Spiro, Bannon coming at 4. Tomorrow, Catherine Rumler, CIA Barack Obama counsel, Woody Allen, Steve Bannon at 3, conversation ID, and that stuff is just formatting stuff. But another CIA connection that we can find right in there. We have another one right here, which seems to be another reference to the trafficking of children. So Jeffrey Epstein writes to Nadia, that girl right here, who Jeffrey left a 30-carat diamond ring and a whole bunch of money and was allegedly going to ask her to marry him. He writes her and says, I ordered sweet young coconuts from Thailand for you, and they just arrived. Very yummy. I was going to ship them to you in Paris, but I hear you are coming back, so I will send them to 71st with Sarah Kellen, just so you don't have to drink juices from old hairy things. Now, is it possible Jeffrey Epstein is just using crude humor to talk about coconuts? It is. But we also know what kind of a man he was. So, pretty disturbing. Now, this lends some credence to the idea that Jeffrey Epstein is not dead. That Jeffrey Epstein is still out there somewhere. Because in the Epstein files, you've got a receipt from YouTube where it shows that his username is Little Saint Jeff 1. Now, if you go and search on Fortnite Tracker, somebody is using the nickname Little Saint Jeff 1 and playing Fortnite to this very day. His profile shows that he was ranked Silver 1 in Chapter 5, Season 1. That season of Fortnite occurred after the death of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, it's also possible that perhaps somebody is just using the name Little Saint Jeff 1 because Little Saint Jeff was the nickname for Little Saint James, and it could just be somebody using this. However, in Jeffrey Epstein's own emails, there is a receipt for V-Bucks on Fortnite. So it seems to indicate that when Jeffrey Epstein was alive, he was online playing Fortnite. So is it possible that Jeffrey Epstein is Little Saint Jeff? It certainly is. Absolutely is. PJ Corrigan says, Zach, are you telling me my son has been playing Epstein in a 1v1 epic battle right now? He might be. You might just want to go check. Sherman, thank you very much. He says, hey, Zach, being Canadian, I thought I would share Trudeau and Carney were mentioned 99 times. 69 for Carney and 29 times for Trudeau. All right. Well, I will go and search for that, and we'll dive into that tomorrow. Have a great day, sir. Thank you very much. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Did I just close something that I hadn't shown yet? No, actually, that was the Fortnite tweet. Okay. All right. That is enough for Jeffrey Epstein today. Let's go ahead and take a look at our man, Scott Bessent, absolutely bodying Senator Chris Van Hollen. Take a listen to this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I think you would agree that the credibility of the Secretary of the Treasury is important, and I want to give you a chance to retract a statement that you made on national TV. Alex Preddy was shot 10 times and killed by federal agents in Minneapolis. The administration, some administration called him a, quote, domestic terrorist. You suggested that Alex Preddy was culpable in his own killing because he had a gun in his waistband holster, which he was licensed to carry. When asked, you said, quote, I'm sorry this gentleman is dead, but, and you went on to say he had a weapon, suggesting that he was culpable in his own killing. So, Mr. Secretary, today, would you like to retract that statement?
I would not. And would you like to express remorse over the death of Ashley Babbitt here in the Capitol?
Oh, I have expressed remorse over that. So I've done that, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, please don't change. So you think, I have other questions, but I actually would have expected you to take this opportunity to rephrase your response to that question. So you think the fact that he legally had a gun justified his killing?
I didn't say.
He may have legally owned a gun, but he was not legally carrying a gun. Because in Minnesota, when you are out concealed carrying, you are also legally obligated to carry your ID on your person. And Alex Preddy, as a member of ICE Watch, went along and did what everybody else in that group does. They don't bring their ID because they want to make it more difficult for the police to identify them. So Alex Preddy, unfortunately, did create the circumstances which led to his death.
Say that at all.
You said, do you think he was culpable, partly to blame in his own killing because he had a gun?
I did not say that.
I'm asking you a question now. Do you believe he was in any way culpable for his own killing because he legally carried a gun?
Again, this is an FSOC hearing.
Yeah.
So,
but you're the Secretary of the Treasury.
Why don't we talk about financial stability and oversight?
I'm happy to, Mr. Secretary, but your credibility is important. And in that response, you really, I think, let down the country because we expect honesty after that kind of terrible tragedy. Let me ask you.
And he was honest. Alex Preddy was culpable in his own death, not because he legally owned a gun. Chris Van Hollen, again, knows exactly what he's doing. Now, we've also learned that the DOJ attorney that I told you about yesterday, that one woman, her name was Jess Lee? Yeah, Julie Lee. The one who told the judge that she wished he would just hold her in contempt and arrest her because this job sucks and she just needs to get some sleep. Well, it turns out that she was an appointee of Tim Walz at one time, and the statements she made have now led to her dismissal. She doesn't like the job? Okay. Well, Julie, you can get on. We don't need you here. You have been fired. Julie Lee is no longer working at the Department of Justice. She has gone on to do other bigger and better things. Julie Lee was appointed by Governor Tim Walz to a Minnesota State Education Board in 2024, and she quit last year to work for DHS as an immigration court prosecutor, probably so that she could gum up the works. But now she's going to have to find another job. All right, now, it was a bad day for Julie, and I'm going to show you some things that a couple of people in Minneapolis are going through right now. A bunch of people having bad days. Misfit Angie says, Zach, it sounds like another episode of conspiracy theories. Epstein didn't kill himself and is alive and playing Fortnite. I'm definitely going to bring it up on Monday, 100%. I need to say thank you to Moon Baby. What's up, hon? Thank you for the news. Appreciate you. Sean Joe, thank you for 2 cookies. Mighty Patriot, thank you for the shades. Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie. Eric Super Patriot, thank you for the cookie. Sean Joe, thank you for another cookie. Filter Dog says, didn't the Democrats take a retreat in Puerto Rico? Seems like I remember Bob Menendez being there. Bob Menendez may have gone to Puerto Rico. He was in trouble for soliciting underage prostitutes, so child prostitutes in the Dominican Republic. Sean Joe, thank you for 1, 2, 3 cookies. No thanks, Joe. Says, thanks, Lisa and Zach. Great work and so fun to listen to you research. God bless. Stay safe. You stay safe as well, my friend. Sean Joe, thank you for the cookie. And WD40, 44 days sober. Good for you, bro. Good for you. I gave my life to Christ. I have a sponsor. I'm doing the steps. I'm crushing work and fatherhood. Thanks for your help and kind email. Much love, bro. I am so happy to hear that. Let me tell you, your life is only going to get better. It doesn't mean that it necessarily gets easier right away, but it will get easier as long as you work it. Just keep working it every single day. Keep yourself grounded in faith. Keep yourself surrounded by other addicts who are in long-term sobriety. And I guarantee you will remain sober, and your life and your circumstances, everything that is happening around you will only get better. There is nothing else that is going to come from this other than you're going to stay sober and your life is going to be great. I'm so proud of you, man. Very, very proud of you. All right, so one of those people having a bad week is Amy Klobuchar. She is currently running for the Democrat position. It would be for the DSA position in Minnesota for governor, because Tim Walz is obviously not running. So the Minnesota DFL had an event where they sort of did a straw poll to see who would most likely be elected. And Amy Klobuchar being one of those people, you would expect her to be the number one choice, but she's actually being beaten by uncommitted voters. You can see here, so the final numbers from the straw poll, uncommitted got the most number of votes with 48.7% of the votes. That was 383. Amy Klobuchar came in second with 200. That only represents 28.8%. And then you've got a series of other people. Erin May Quaid with 6%, Peggy Flanagan with 3.75%, Omar Fateh with 1.7%, Kobe Lane with 1.7%, Ilhan Omar with 1.4%, Keith Ellison with 1.3%, Aisha Gomez with 1.0%. So these, then there's a series of posts from Reddit. Here in North Minneapolis, we had 3 for Amy Klobuchar, 23 uncommitted. Only resolution that got shut done was one advocating for the DFL to gerrymander our congressional districts. DFL caucus in Northeast Minneapolis overwhelmingly vote undecided. Klobuchar got a handful of votes out of a room of 75 people. Same thing over here. 32 Amy, 57 uncommitted. Yes, we had exactly 100 people, and we passed all 16 of our resolutions. One anti-ICE resolution was philosophic and kind of hand-wavy, but one of them really had teeth. Another one split 50-50, Klobuchar and undecided. 5 for Klobuchar, 57 for uncommitted. Yikes, Amy. So it would appear that the Democrat socialists in Minnesota are essentially in turmoil right now. They don't have anybody that they're going to be able to agree on. That may bode very, very well come the general election. Now, another person having a very bad day is self-proclaimed Antifa General Kyle Wagner, the tattooed crazy person who we were predicting was very soon going to be arrested. He was rolled up this morning in a pre-dawn raid. Remember, he's the one who called for the armed uprising against Customs and Border Patrol and ICE agents. He said it on a number of occasions. He's a 37-year-old radical leftist drag queen with a mustache. And when he was arrested this weekend, he said, he had previously urged his followers to get your effing guns and stop these effing people. Here is the video in case you didn't see it when I played it the first time.
My name is Kyle. I'm Antifa, and there's so much rage in me that I've had to record this like 15 times trying to get the message out. They fucked up, okay? Go watch my other videos. Doesn't matter if you're not here and you're not caught up. You missed the fucking fight. But if you are, it's time to suit up. Boots on the ground.
It's not a monster drink tattoo. That is an Antifa symbol tattoo on his neck. It's a circle with 3 arrows in it pointing down.
Nicollet and fucking 26th. My house is 4 blocks away. Anywhere between Franklin.
And on his face, this is some Asian language. I don't know what it is. It may be Japanese because it's going up and down.
And Nicollet and 26th and Nicollet. show up ready to go. Okay, not talking about peaceful protests anymore. We're not talking about having polite conversations anymore. I am talking specifically to my fucking followers. This is everything I have fucking talked about, and this is exactly what I said was gonna happen. This is exactly what I said was gonna fucking come when we didn't fucking go and march on fucking Whipple with guns.
Why did they even bother to put those bleeps in there? Like, they're not taking the audio out from him saying F-bombs. They're just leaving the beeps in there. Oh, my God.
Sorry, but welcome to America 2026, where Second Amendment is the only thing that's going to keep you fucking protected from literal fucking Nazi gunmen that are killing innocent people in the street with impunity. This is not a fucking joke. There's nothing fun to chant about it. Get your fucking guns and stop these fucking people.
How'd that work out for you, Kyle? Not too good. Not too good. So here is him after he accidentally doxed himself after showing that video that we saw. Well, first, let's watch this one. So after he was essentially identified and doxed, he said that federal agents were coming for him, and he tried raising money for a freedom and defense fund. He started selling I Am Antifa sweatshirts. He was actually arrested wearing one of his I Am Antifa sweatshirts.
Listen, my link to my Venmo is in my bio, okay?
He went on the run for a period of time, and then apparently he went back to his house because that's where they arrested him.
Can't give via Venmo, you can fucking, send me gifts now. I'm monetized. It's a freedom and defense fund, okay? It's an emergency freedom and defense fund. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm spending my money on. I'm not going to tell you why I need you to give me large sums of money right now. I just want you to understand that this is a fucking actual guerrilla war in our streets now. They're using live ammunition to kill our citizens. I need everyone to show up.
Remember when Renee Nicole Good's girlfriend was like, "Why are you using real bullets?" Because this ain't a game, girl. These are federal agents that you just tried to run over. Of course they're going to use live ammo.
Fully prepared, whatever that means to you, to whatever degree you can, right? Legally, we need to be there as American citizens in defense of our constitutional rights to fucking say no. They have to go. Come now.
Yeah, they didn't show up.
What up?
This is him doxing himself live on the air.
I'm Antifa. Here at Portland Commons off of 4th and Park. You look right here. There's a gentleman with a big FRSO red flag. I'm parked right in front of him. I've got gas masks for everybody who's trying to come and grab one. I'll be posted up here as long as I can. Come on and say, hey, I got a gas mask for you too, eh? We have tons and tons of gas masks. These are legit NATO style. I have extra filters. Most of them come with their own neat little bags and their own filters. I am not asking for money. I want especially the women and younger folk that have been hit the most to come and get them if they need them. I know there's several mothers on their way right now. I'm here waiting for you guys, and I will keep them set aside for those who have already requested. What up?
So he essentially drops his phone, doesn't turn off his stream, and then tells everybody, he tells somebody the address of where he lives and where to go. So Kyle has labeled ICE agents as Gestapo, Nazis, mass murderers, fascist occupiers. Basically, anytime anybody he disagrees with, they are automatically a Nazi. And he urged people to cripple, hunt, and violate these men and women working for ICE. He wanted them doxxed. He wanted people to use violence against them. He also said that he wanted to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law at the barrel of a gun. He said, we want to know who they are. We will identify every single one of them, and we will prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. If it has to be done at the end of a barrel of a gun, then let us have a little effing fun. He also doxed and threatened a Michigan-based ICE supporter by publishing their personal information online. Now, his Instagram has been either banned or deleted. He posted one video where he said he was on the run, that they had banned his original account, and so he was publishing on the next one. Now, here he is being raided. I'm trying not to get this video taken down, so I'm not going to make this video large, and I'm going to talk over it so that it is transformative. Hopefully the gaydar will be transformative enough for the people who might try to take this video down. I am showing this in the interest of news, in the interest of informing the public about Antifa Kyle getting his ass raided and arrested because he said that people should shoot ICE agents. And now I believe that Kyle is going to be brought out in just a moment, and we'll see. And look at her. She's trying to cover her face so that the ICE agents can't see who she is. Screaming, yelling like a privileged panty waist. These white, liberal Antifa types are quite literally the human shields that are being put on the front lines. That's why we're seeing them get arrested, because they are disposable to the left, and that way they can have sacrificial lambs that they'll be able to put forward as some type of a propaganda piece. But God forbid that one of their sacred cow black trans immigrant members might be the ones who get arrested. All right, so I'm starting to think that this may be the video of them leaving the apartment and going to the raid on Kyle. Because, let's see. So he says, Ford Fisher says, apparently they have broken the front window of the apartment trying to get in. Were there for an hour. At one point prior to their departure, agents stepped out and examined their exit path. A board was used to patch the front window of an apartment building in Minneapolis. Here he is. Here is Kyle Wagner getting arrested. Look, he's wearing his I Am Antifa shirt. I'm sure that he's probably going to have a good time in jail because, you know, the gaydar isn't on screen for no reason. Kyle is more than just an Antifa general. He's also a lover of fine women's undergarments. Todd Blanche also posted about Kyle getting arrested. He shared this picture of Kyle. Here you can see all of his Antifa tattoos. The Justice Department with ICE HSI arrested a self-identified anti-ICE Antifa terrorist in Minneapolis today. Conspired to threaten, assault, kill, and dox officers. And you're going to find yourself in federal custody facing the full force of justice. Absolutely love it. Now, you know who else is having a very bad day? That is going to be Crazy Lizzie Wild Eyes. This is the girl who I showed a video of. Oh, here is another one of Kyle getting arrested and being taken out. I'm sure that he was yelling stuff to people to get him out. Let me see. That is a much longer video, so we're not going to watch that. But Crazy Elizabeth Rose, she's the one who made the video asking for where all of her asking where her Antifa boyfriend was, because normally she doesn't need a man to protect her. But of course, when she was going out to protest, she wanted an Antifa guy to come with her so that together they could engage in the type of terrorism that she was just arrested for. She and a friend were in a vehicle, and they rammed an ICE vehicle. And here we are at my official dating profile request, she said. This woman is a nutcase. We're going to watch a couple of videos of Lizzie as well. So she recently posted a video that I shared of her saying that she knew she was about to get arrested. She is a 42-year-old woman who identifies as a relationship anarchist. practicing non-monogamous relationships. So she's just a whore. She sleeps with anybody who will slip her the D. And she was tailing an ICE vehicle and crashed into that car as Border Patrol agents were in it. I believe that these are the people who were with her at the time. Don't even know who that is. Asia Little, but look at that hair. Like, my God. How much does a haircut cost? Really? I mean, like, tell me you cut your own hair without telling me you cut your own hair. And then here is Hannah Rose. I don't know who Hannah Rose is. Another person. Joseph Franklin, another person who was arrested. Henry Ely, another person who was arrested. Davis Redmond, another person who was arrested. I'm wondering if Hannah Rose is related to Elizabeth Rose. Maybe Hannah was Elizabeth's husband before he transitioned. I don't know. So here she is putting out her dating mating call for an anarchist boyfriend.
Here we are at my official dating profile request. I am 42. I'm almost 42. I am a relationship anarchist. I am on the lookout for somebody who right now I'd be able to call and say, hey, get in the passenger seat and let's go fuck some shit up. Because right now in Minneapolis, what is happening are we are being occupied by ICE agents who are, of course, I couldn't get this on what is happening.
I kind of like that dresser, though, for real.
Here, who are going door to door, it's because I'm doing it backwards, going door to door and kidnapping people from their homes. Not just from their homes, they are going to schools.
Cool.
They are going to churches.
Cool.
They are going to Target, which I'm not going to lie, I'm not surprised about. We all know Target,
sure.
Right?
And she's got to put on her Palestine scarf. She's got to represent the Middle East.
So if that's you, if you're interested in fucking some shit up, if you're not
You know why that pisses me off more than anything? Because my dad gave me one of those years ago, and I used to wear it all the time because I thought it was so cool. And then it like became a thing that Antifa started wearing. Of course, this was like, 20 years ago or more. But it was very handy in the cold Michigan winters.
afraid of a woman who
Kafia, there you go.
If you're interested in sitting in a side seat, message me. We got shit to do.
And shit she did, because that's why she got arrested. Somebody needs to tell her how to put on overalls, too. All right, so as part of Operation Metro Surge, in these court documents, agitators in multiple vehicles began following a team of federal agents. Miss Rose reportedly blocked the path on a narrow street. She ignored their commands to move, and then she reversed her car into another agent-occupied vehicle that had arrived to assist. So a video of the incident was posted on social media by her, but it does not show the impact. It does, however, show her reversing into the vehicle and touching it when she stops. So this is Cassandra McDonald's account showing the video from Lizzie Rose's account. And, of course, this is her vehicle right here. And there is ICE getting out and getting ready to lay the hammer down. You can see there, she tapped the car behind her. Oh, and of course she's got to drive a Subaru. Jeez, oh, Pete. I love my Subaru, but I just hate seeing these people drive them.
Why are you trying to pull them out? What did they do?
What did they do? Why are you trying to pull them out?
You came up and you got right behind them. They didn't hit you on purpose. She was reversing on the street. Can you please just let her go?
No.
You guys are interrogating her. Let her go.
No, we can't do that, ma'am.
Let her go.
Let her go. She didn't do nothing.
Let her go. Just get out. This is not worth your time. You have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, okay, excellent point. When somebody like Lizzie drives it, it's a Lesbaru. But when I drive it, it's a Subaru. It's an off-road vehicle that I love. I love my Subaru.
Down.
Okay, so yeah, they've got to bust open the windows because, of course, she won't get in. She won't let them in. Here's the thing. When you break the
We're on
law,
the corner of 41st
there must
and
be
21st.
consequences.
This SUV filled with ice pulled up. There is nothing
Get her.
wrong
Hold
with
on. I want to see him pull her out.
She ran into them, which she did not. Let's be very clear.
There
is nothing wrong with their vehicle. They have no reason to be detaining her right now. This
Actually,
is
they do.
unlawful, and this is not okay. This is happening in front of my house.
Oh, it's so okay. Let me just go on record and say just how okay it is. All right, now here she is admitting to the events that took place and talking about how scared she is that she's going to be arrested.
I just wanted to check in with everybody for right this second.
Let's watch again.
I just wanted to check in with everybody really quickly. I just returned from being detained by ICE for like 8 hours. I'm going to tell more of this story. I just have to actually think it through right now.
Got to talk to my lawyer because going online and admitting to my crimes is something they could use against me. Also, posting somebody else's video of her crime is so stupid.
I was with a friend and we were boxed in by 2 different ICE vehicles, and they ran into the back of my car and then claimed.
Oh, they ran into the back of her car? It's a good thing they have cameras.
That I hit their car. So they came and broke my windows and pulled us out of the car and proceeded to tell us that we were being detained because we had assaulted a federal agent. There's a lot more. There's a lot more. I just got back.
What happened to effing shit up, Lizzie? What happened to effing shit up with your Antifa boyfriend?
To my house, I want to shout out Safe Haven, MN. They were at.
All right, so things did not go well for Lizzie. She also posted that she was going to be arrested. So at about 2 p.m., oh no, that is the story of what happened. This is her talking about her crime. Oh, I thought that. Oh. She also said in another video that she and her friends were scrubbing videos from their TikTok and they were getting rid of their internet history, which is an admission of deleting evidence. So she turned herself in on January 30th and was released pending the hearing. And now, I don't know how many years she's facing, but assaulting a federal agent is not going to be something that is just going to go away, Lizzie. All right, now, Caroline Leavitt also spoke about Antifa Kyle at the press conference earlier today.
Just today, the Department of Homeland Security arrested this individual. He is a self-proclaimed Antifa member who has been threatening, doxing, harassing ICE. He called for the murder of federal law enforcement officers. He encouraged bloodshed in the streets of Minnesota. He proudly acclaimed.
Let me just say, pregnancy looks good on Caroline. She is glowing. Look at her skin. She looks so good.
Affiliation with the domestic terrorist organization Antifa, and the Department of Justice, thanks to the great work of HSI and the FBI, was able to locate and arrest this individual today. So we are committed to enforcing our immigration laws. We want that level of cooperation from state and local officials. And if people are illegally obstructing our federal law enforcement operations, if they are targeting, doxing, harassing, and vilifying ICE agents, they are going to be held accountable, like this individual here, who again is a self-proclaimed member of Antifa. He is a domestic terrorist, and he will be held accountable in the United States.
Good job, Kyle. Way to memorialize your crimes. Susan Boosin, good to see you. She said, Zach, what are you when you drive your Subaru in reverse? You're a bus. I don't get it. I'm going to have to think about that one. Oh, you're a bus, Subaru. I get it. I get it. Okay. Now, take a look at this. The mainstream media, CBS News, was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they did a recent report on these leftists who are operating the roadblocks and creating the autonomous zones that we reported on either late last week or earlier this week. These are the people doing the checkpoints, asking for papers and asking for IDs, essentially just harassing anybody that they suspect of not being a resident of the neighborhood, or if they think that you're ICE, they're going to go ahead and harass you. So she gives an explanation about why they're doing this, and it's wild.
We are literally creating a place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
In the middle of the...
Wait a second. Are you saying that there is some utility, there is some value in controlling who comes into your private, personal space? I mean, this isn't even private. I mean, this is public streets, so it's illegal. But I mean, that's the same exact argument that we make when we talk about why it's so important to enforce immigration laws. I just want to hear her say it one more time.
We are literally creating a place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
Wow. Isn't that special?
Middle of the road at 32nd and Cedar Avenue, a makeshift...
Yeah, they put up a border. They built a border. Build the wall. I want to drive by there and say, build the wall.
Roadblock turned this intersection into a roundabout. Cars slowed as drivers noticed, some honked, others asked questions, and one man brought food for the people standing watch.
Hi, sir. Thank you so much.
How did
Oh, bro, that pizza looks good right now.
it make you feel just seeing a community checkpoint in your neighborhood?
Well, you know, it felt fine. I don't have any trouble with folks helping out.
Wade Haynes.
Yeah, so I wouldn't dare to say anything negative about Antifa setting up the roadblock, asking for papers and identification and cataloging my license plate, because if they think I'm affiliated with ICE, then they might just firebomb my house.
Haynes has been standing at this corner twice a day for one reason: to stand up against ICE activity and keep his community safe. He chose this corner. Others chose this intersection.
It's kind of inspiring. It's like, wow, okay. We've got folks out there who are kind of taking care of us, looking out for us. That's good.
Wow, almost like ICE. Taking care of us, looking out for us, arresting illegal aliens and getting these perverts and killers off the streets. These people have zero self-awareness.
But Minneapolis police stepped in, clearing the roadblock and restoring flow of traffic.
Honestly, I'm kind of sad about it.
Still, residents say the roadblock was necessary.
We need to keep our neighbors safe, so we will be doing this again.
Wow. Well, guess what? We're going to continue to keep our country safe, and we're going to continue to arrest illegal aliens. Thank you so much to fans of Jimmy Century, FOJC TV. Fans of Jimmy Century's upcoming Vegas production show, Residency, wants to find out how to sponsor your shows. We sent you an email a few months ago. Oh my gosh, I missed it, dude, but are really interested in doing that. Okay, send me another email right now, and we will get in touch after today's show. But yeah, awesome, dude. I appreciate you, man. Send that over. I can't believe that I missed that. That's awesome. That's very cool. Thank you so much, and thank you for the support, as always. Will to Push Forward says, Red Pill 78, I almost thought it could have been a Somali yard sale instead of a Minneapolis Chaz. I think you're absolutely right. So I find it hilarious that these people are not making the connection that we essentially have the exact same goals. The only problem is we're looking to do it within the law. They are looking to enforce a law that doesn't actually exist. All right, I have one final message from our friends over on Rumble. Let me just pull this up and let me say, my friends, banks can cancel your account. They can freeze your cards. They can decide what you're allowed to buy, what you're allowed to say, who you're allowed to support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. And that's why financial independence matters more than ever. Introducing the Rumble Wallet. It's a wallet built for real freedom, because with Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin all in one secure place with no permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. And even more importantly, when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, like this show, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference. This isn't a credit line that they can shut off. It is your wallet permanently, yours to protect your future, to protect your family, because when the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today, download Rumble Wallet now, and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom. If you are watching on Rumble, you can use the QR code on screen. If you're not watching on Rumble, you can just head on over to wallet.rumble.com, or you can download the Rumble Wallet from the App Store on your phone. Thank you very much to those guys over there. And let me say also thank you to 123SKG for the cookie, Sean Joe for the cookie, and Filter Dog 1, who says these idiots have zero self-awareness. Yeah, no, they are completely out of it. Okay, now, gaydar not needed for this next story. Our man, David Hawk, who patrolled Minneapolis with Nick Sorter and brought this story about Minneapolis Somali clan fraud to the forefront, doing a tremendous public service, putting himself and his family at great risk, testified on that fraud before the U.S. Senate. And he talked about the criminal behavior of the Minnesota Department of Human Services and the bureaucrats and politicians that allowed this fraud to take place. We are going to listen to David's opening statement. It's about 6 minutes long, but I think it's well worth the attention.
And ultimately throughout the entire United States, as it turns out, began when I started to notice very unusual changes in the Minneapolis area. Remember, I grew up there, so I know Minneapolis very well. Most notably, the enormous number of child care facilities that had opened up. I would drive around the Twin Cities, and it seemed these child care facilities were literally on every block. Some blocks had 2 or 3 child care facilities on the same block. Minnesota sees a fair amount of snow in the winter, and I began to notice, driving by these child care facilities, there were never any footprints in the snow outside these child care facilities. And I'd go by them 3, 4, 5 times a day, Monday through Friday, because my office is in the heart of where a lot of these child care facilities are. So I said, well, what's going on here with all these child care facilities? So I began to check the Minnesota Secretary of State's website to find out just who owned all these child care facilities. And guess what? Every single one of them was Somali owned. Not every child care facility in Minnesota was, but the ones that I was looking at that were by my office, and there were a lot of them. What's even stranger is that every one of these facilities is located in a commercial or industrial building, no play areas, bad neighborhoods, and several of the child care facilities had signage which stated they were open either 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., Quality Learning Center, for example, or open 24 hours. Who the heck brings their kid to stay overnight at a child care facility in a rough neighborhood? None of it made any sense. The leering misspelling was the final straw for me. That's the spark that ignited my full-on investigation. So Minnesota has 2 different child care licenses available. One covers 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the other one covers 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. They're 2 very different licenses. So for a child care facility to be open 24 hours a day or even from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., they need both licenses. How many of these facilities that are open these extended hours have 2 licenses? None of them. 0. They all have only 1 license. Minnesota child care supervision requirements include the following. For infant care, that's 0 to 17 months of age, you have to have 1 adult supervising for every 4 children, and max 8 in a group. For toddlers, which is 18 and 23 months of age, it requires 1 adult for every 5 children to supervise, max 10 children in that group. For 2-year-olds, you need 1 adult for every 7 children, so max 14 in a group. So if a child care facility was billing the state of Minnesota for 99 children, i.e. Quality Learning Center, that child care facility would need to have at least 8 employees supervising those children.
You know they did.
These cannot be 1099 employees. They have to be W-2 employees. That means we're going to have at least 8 W-2s, and we're going to have at least 8 I-9s. So if the feds went in and checked that, what do you think they're going to find? You already know the answer. One issue that is often brought up is that we are unfairly targeting the Somali community. This is a fair point to be made. As one Somali gentleman exclaimed in our second video, we're not the only community that does fraud. Fraud certainly exists in every community. It was the sheer volume and the blatant nature of the Somali fraud that demanded my attention. When one facility, Mako Childcare, has another childcare, mini childcare, registered at the same address, but the sign still says Mako Childcare, it kind of stands out. And again, no children, no footprints in the snow, ever. This is what I mean by being blatant. Misspelled signage, posted hours that require 2 licenses, no child footprints in the snow, not even once. So how did we arrive at this point? Why are we having this hearing? We got here because of politicians, almost exclusively Democrats. A couple of names come to mind. Jody Harpstead, the former commissioner of the Department of Human Services, and Shireen Gandhi, the current commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Human Services. Harpstead put the whole fraud on steroids. She was steering the ship from 2019 to 2025 during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is when the whole fraud network exploded into what we see nationally today and to what we see in my numbers, which are accurate. So now we hear that the Minnesota Department of Human Services is forging documents and backdating paperwork, all in an effort to cover up their complicity in this fraud. This is just more criminal behavior from the gang at the Minnesota Department of Human Services. It's criminal behavior. Minneapolis was the incubator for this nationwide fraud, which we're now seeing in Maine, we're seeing it in Washington State, we're seeing it in Columbus, Ohio. It was constructed here in Minneapolis. And the idea behind it was if you can get a population in here and fit them into this fraud framework, you have a guaranteed voting block for all eternity. The fraud was started and then it expanded out, and now you see it all around the country. So why is fraud bad? Why is it a bad thing? Why does anybody care? Fraud is bad because it steals from the blind, it steals from kids with cancer, it steals from disabled, it steals from the homeless, it steals from wounded veterans, it steals from everybody in this room. So what is the answer? How do we fix this? The way we fix this is that the federal government has to go to the Minnesota Department of Human Services and every social service agency and say, look, if you issue a payment using federal money and it goes to a fraudulent company, you run the risk of us coming in, arresting you, handcuffing you, parading you out, bringing you in front of a judge, and putting you in prison.
Amen.
So if you're going to issue a payment, you better make sure that it's a legitimate company. Otherwise, don't issue the payment. Go on Google Earth. Look at, it's a liquor store. It's a grocery store. Why are you issuing payment to a child care or a transportation company that doesn't even exist? Why are you issuing that payment? It's criminal behavior. The federal government has to use that cudgel over these people and say, look, you better be sure if you issue that payment that it's a legitimate payment.
They have got to make it something that people will pay for if they... Ma'am FC, thank you, Ma'am FC, for the $50 Rumble rant. Appreciate you. Very, very cool. Thank you very much for that support there. So yes, I believe that everything will be taken care of, but you've got to draw attention to it. And of course, you've got to shame those people who are doing it. Now, I would like to say that David made an excellent point. It's not only Somalians, because we can jump over to Michigan and find that they have a very similar problem, only this time it's with a Nigerian. And this Nigerian woman was honored by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Stretching Gretchen. Turns out she is a massive daycare fraudster. And she also seems to have a problem with America and says that we have an issue with structural racism, inherent racism. So obviously, after we uncovered the massive fraud in multiple states, people started looking into Michigan. Now, a former professor, a Nigerian immigrant named Nkechi Eze, she pled guilty just last month to wire fraud and tax evasion in a scheme that defrauded Michigan taxpayers out of over $1 million. This misappropriated money had been intended for Early Learning Neighborhood Collaborative. This was an early childhood education center for disadvantaged children. And Izzy was the founder and CEO of ELNC. That nonprofit closed in 2023 after Izzy and the former director of finance and administration, Sharon Killebrew, were accused of embezzling more than $2.5 million over several years. Now, Killebrew, 70, was sentenced to 4 years and 6 months in prison after pleading guilty to tax evasion and conspiracy to defraud a federally funded program. Eze, however, faces 20 years for wire fraud. The charge of tax evasion could give her an additional 5. Nigerian news outlet Business Day reported that Eze, who is a former professor at Aquinas College in Michigan, did not shy away from the public eye. Whitmer once put her on a state executive committee, and she also won the Woman of the Year award on several occasions. Eze created nearly $500,000 in fraudulent invoices and established 2 fictitious daycare businesses to mask the movement of stolen funds. The embezzled money reportedly financed her lavish lifestyle, as it normally does, including international travel to Hawaii, Liberia, and Nigeria. She's a woman who, in an interview in 2022 with Voyage Michigan, once had the audacity to decry structural racism as a problem immigrants had to overcome. As she put it, with hard work, prayer, and the support of your immediate family, you keep going. I had to navigate the American system. It seems the racism she was referring to involved difficulties faced in stealing money from the American people. Assistant U.S. Attorney Clay Stifler spoke about who was harmed by her crimes. The victims were mostly children of color under the age of 5 years old, 72% of whom lived below the federal poverty level in some of the poorest neighborhoods in Kent County, Kalamazoo, and Battle Creek. She is a black immigrant who complained about racism, and she was found to have been lining her pockets by taking advantage of poor black kids. Amy DeLue, who is president of the ELNC, did not hold back her anger with Eze. Her theft of millions of dollars intended for the most vulnerable children was brazen, all-encompassing, and unconscionable. To date, Nkechi has made no effort to repay any of the millions of dollars she stole. Eze has reportedly agreed to pay back $1.4 million in restitution and $400,000 in taxes. Minnesota's Quality Leering Center is not alone, and they are not unique. It is simply one arm of the octopus. Now, I want to show you this video. A man in Los Angeles attempts to LARP as a disabled individual. He walks into the street and he walks directly into an ICE vehicle. Now, the fool who posted this video says masked ICE agents strike veteran with vehicle. That's obviously not what happened. Now, they blur him out for whatever reason, but you can tell that he does this on purpose. This happened on the 4th, just yesterday.
Oh, you okay, sir? Stay back.
You okay, sir? This is so staged. He gets up and he doesn't walk with his cane. Doesn't walk with his cane, uses his cane to smash the vehicle.
You got in front of my car. You ran over my fucking car. You got in front of me. Oh, it's always you got in front of my car. Make me. Come here, bitch. I'll make you. Come here, bitch. Hey, which military branch rejected you, pal? Fucking prick.
That was a cool shirt.
I'm a fucking veteran, you fucking ass wife.
Oh, that's a charge. That's assault.
What? What? Motherfucker, right there. The fruity one. Yeah.
You know, I love that these leftists are now calling people that they don't agree with, like, faggots in the N-word. That's hilarious to me. All right. Now, the DOJ, Homeland Security, DHS, wanted to share this article from the New York Times. It's about a couple, a undocumented couple. Enrique Castillos and his wife, Maria Elena Hernandez. They raised a family in California, but they were undocumented immigrants. And after President Trump's crackdown began, they decided to return to Mexico. The long goodbye. A California couple self-deports to Mexico. Now, 36 paragraphs into this article in the New York Times, they drop this little line here. For years, the couple said Enrique had been using another person's identity. a common but illegal way for undocumented immigrants to get the paperwork they need to work in this country. They were committing identity fraud, criminal identity fraud for years. As long as they had been living here in the United States, they were stealing somebody's identity and using it for work. Absolutely insane. You would think that the New York Times, as a journalistic organization, might drop that one a little bit higher in the article, but obviously they didn't want anybody to know. All right, we have just one more story here, and it's a really tragic one. Actually, I got two more videos. So the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, wanted people to know about some more tragic deaths that happened this week at the hands of illegal aliens. Take a listen.
This is another abhorrent example of the border crisis over the past 4 years, and it again exemplifies why the administration must continue and will always continue to fully back and support ICE and Border Patrol and law enforcement in their removal of illegal alien criminals from our country. For those who don't know, and all of you should report on it, 4 Americans were tragically killed and lost their lives this week yet again from an illegal alien, an individual who was paroled into the country by the Biden administration using the CBP1 app, which they created like it was a magic pass for Disneyland. That's not how immigration in this country should work. And this illegal alien from Kyrgyzstan was traveling on an Indiana highway, and he failed to brake for a slowed semi-truck in front of him. He swerved into the lane, and he crashed into a van carrying 15 passengers, and 4 people were killed in that crash. This is another tragedy that could have been prevented if not for the wide open borders from the previous administration. That's why we now have a secure border. That's why this administration will continue to deport illegal aliens from our country.
Really tragic, completely unnecessary death of a family of 4. 30-year-old Bezkan Bayshakiv, illegal from Kyrgyzstan, entered the United States, as they said, using Joe Biden's CBP1 app. The victims were an Amish family. 50-year-old Henry Eicher, 25-year-old Menno Eicher, well, maybe not a family, just a group of Amish men, 19-year-old Paul Eicher, and 23-year-old Simon Gerard. So you can see here, he did what so many other illegal aliens do when they get behind the wheel of a semi-truck, completely destroyed these people as they were driving down the road. He was given a license by the state of Pennsylvania. Here's the vehicle. I don't know that there's anything left of those people. Really, really tragic. Here's the Amish community rallying around the vehicle and mourning the loss of their people. Never should have happened. Never should have happened. All right. Now, finally, Alyssa Slotkin has grown a pair of balls that don't fit in her panties. She put the announcement out today that she is refusing to meet with Pam Bondi and Jeanine Pirro over the comments that she made in her Seditious 6 video. I would say she's definitely on Ozempic because she's lost even more weight than the last time. Either that or maybe she's got cancer. I don't know, and I'm not going to wish it upon her, but take a look.
Hi, everyone. I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan. Earlier today, I sent a letter to Attorney General Bondi and to the lead Department of Justice lawyer in D.C., Jeanine Pirro, telling them, 1, I will not be complying with their inquiries and sitting down for an interview based on a 90-second video I filmed, and number 2, urging them to retain their records on this case in case I decide to sue for infringement of my constitutional rights. Just to review the bidding, in November, myself and others filmed a 90-second video restating current law that simply says uniformed military have a responsibility to refuse illegal orders. In response, the president tweeted about us over a dozen times, saying that we should be investigated, arrested, and ultimately hanged for sedition. In response, the threats went through the roof to myself, my family, my staff, and the FBI and the Department of Justice opened up an inquiry on me in response to the president's tweets. But at this point, I'm not going to be sitting down for this inquiry. I'm not going to legitimize their actions. The video we made was public. I've done a ton of public talking about it since then, including now. And our Constitution is crystal clear on the issue of freedom of speech, something worth fighting for. To be honest, many lawyers told me to just be quiet, keep my head down, and hopefully this will all just go away.
Probably would have been a better idea, but now that you've directly antagonized the Department of Justice after seeking to lower the morale of our armed forces, something tells me they are going to take a special interest in you, Alyssa CIA Slotkin.
But that's exactly what the Trump administration and Jeanine Pirro want. They are purposely using physical and legal intimidation to get me to shut up.
Physical? How are they using physical intimidation? They got agents standing outside her house waiting for her to come out so that they can question her? I don't think so.
More importantly, they're using that intimidation to deter others from speaking out against their administration. The intimidation is the point, and I'm not going to go along with that. That's why I've asked Pirro and Bondi to retain all records on this case in line with the law. Because the Supreme Court may have given the president near immunity on most matters, but they've given no such immunity to those doing his bidding. I don't want to be in this position. As a former CIA officer, I worked alongside the FBI and the Department.
You'll notice that in the video that she made, she dressed like a Stasi officer in black with that black leather coat. In this video, she dresses in all white, innocence, purity. She's obviously attempting to use her CIA PSYOP training.
Department of Justice in Washington, in Baghdad, my entire career. And I know the career professionals at those places don't want to politicize our legal system. But this is about more than just my case. It's about the ability to speak your mind and have freedom from fear. Because if they can do this to a sitting senator, imagine what they can do to a community leader, a business leader, or a mom who goes viral on the internet.
Well, you can ask Kyle and Lizzie about their experience. It's not about freedom of speech, okay? I mean, you are free to speak freely, but you're not free to break the law. And what you did was against the law.
In this day and age, we all have to own our choices.
Exactly. Yeah, great advice.
I own mine. This administration will have to own theirs.
And they will. I tend to believe that this is going to come back to haunt you. This is not something that's simply going to go away. Now, before we leave, you guys, and before I go through the final thank yous over here, just wanted to say hello. We've got a viewer in the chat who is writing in Cyrillic. I don't know if you're here from Russia, but thanks for dropping by and God bless. Over on my screen here, I'd like to make sure that you guys are aware of the sponsors of today's program, my good friends at TamarakGarden.com. Over at Tamarack Garden, they make... Hang on. I had just hit the wrong button. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So over at Tamarack Garden, you can find a host of completely natural American-made product. TamarakGarden.com. When you use the code RP78, you will get 10% off your order. Everything that they make is completely natural. It is made by a family who are supporters of the program. It is all top quality products, health and wellness, and it is a wonderful place. If you'll remember, when I had problems with my back, they sent Lisa and I a whole bunch of stuff, and I got some real relief from it. You know, I don't take drugs, so that includes pharmaceuticals. So I was unable to get relief in any other way other than natural stuff. But it's all herbs and medicinal, natural, homeopathic products. Definitely check them out, TamarakGarden.com. Also, my friends over at OneNessDrops.com /RedPill78 for their chlorine dioxide water purification kits, as well as everything else, including their DMSO and their mullein extract or their soursop tincture. You'll get 15% off everything you order there when you use code RedPill78. And, of course, you can also get some of their bundles, which are already discounted, but you'll get an additional discount when you use my code. Definitely, chlorine dioxide is great for a lot of different things, a lot more than simply purifying water. But if you need to make water that is clean, potable, and safe to drink, chlorine dioxide is something you're going to want to have on hand. Don't forget about my friend Mike Lindell at MyPillow.com. When you use code RP78, you will get the best price on everything they offer on the website, up to 80% off. Lisa and I just changed the sheets last night, as we do several times a week, and we were talking about how much we love the Giza Dream Sheets. They are so soft. It is luxurious. And we also have a MyPillow not a mattress, a MyPillow down comforter, which is top notch. But if you do need a mattress or a mattress topper, you can get it from Mike as well. And of course, you will be supporting his effort to become governor of the state of Minnesota. And my good friend Jordan over at consciousstrength.net/RP78. Use code RP78 at consciousstrength.net. This is where I get my methylene blue. Also love the Shilajit gummies and the electrolytes, green energy, vegetables, fruits, all in a clean and tasty, easy to use mix. And my friends at rncstore.com/RP78 to save 10% off their Laetrile, B17, and apricot seed products. All right, you guys, we are done for the day. Dixie, thank you very much for the can. She says, Zach, great accent. Filter Dog, thank you for the cookie. Red Gun 51, thank you for the can. And that is it. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything over here on Rumble, because sometimes I can, but I don't. All right, and just want to remind everybody, if you do support me through my website, I don't get notifications in the same way that I do when we're live. More of your funding actually does go to support the show, however, so it is greatly appreciated. If for some reason you make a mistake, or if you sign up for a yearly recurring membership or something, either through Locals or through my website directly, and definitely just reach out to me. When you get the email after you donate through the website, it gives you instructions on how to get me directly. There's even a phone number if it's an emergency, and I will help you out. I just ask, please, that you don't file a chargeback, because it's a whole thing, and then we got to deal with it, and they will charge me up to almost 50% of your original donation, as well as obviously taking the donation that you gave previously. If you do have a mistake or you need to work with me, all you got to do is email me and I will take care of it. Don't worry. You know me. I am here every single day. My integrity is the only thing that I can truly stand on, and I have no problem helping you guys. And I just want to let everybody know, every time you support me, it is directly and financially allowing me to continue doing this. I don't ask for donations, and every single time people do support me, I can't tell you how important it is and how much I appreciate it. So thank you, good luck, God bless, and I will see you tomorrow right here at 5 p.m. for another episode of Red Pill News Live. Peace.